Now, a Gateshead para-athlete has entered the world record books after rowing solo across the Atlantic Ocean.
Celebrations fit for a champion. Kelda Wood makes history as a new Queen of the Ocean.
Kelda set herself the challenge after a serious leg injury ended her dream of becoming an Olympic horse rider.
Kelda Wood completed the gruelling 3,000-mile journey over 80 days.
It's called one of the world's toughest races, and she did it on her own with impaired mobility, the first para-athlete ever to do so.
Kelda's from Shrewsbury and rowed solo across the Atlantic for the charity she set up herself, Climbing Out, which works with young people facing life-changing injury or illness.
She's dedicating each lonely day on the water to a young survivor of trauma.
I know she rowed across the Atlantic, but it was never about rowing across the Atlantic. She still does it for other people.
The first time I got in a rowing boat and we were on the River Severn, it wasn't very successful at all. As in, the boat barely moved. So the idea of having to row 3,000 miles at that speed, it was going to take me a very long time. From being a child, really, sport had been my life. I loved it. It was who I was. It was what defined the person I wanted to be. Then in 2002, I had an accident where a bale of haylage that weighs about a tonne fell off the top of the stack, crushed me underneath, caused a compound fracture and dislocation of my left ankle. I couldn't be the person I used to be, and that was what I struggled with. I just lost all my identity. I lost all confidence in who I was. I realised I needed to change my attitude towards my leg and start focusing on what I could do rather than what I couldn't. And a whole new world opened up to me through outdoor activities.
Kelda's just a rocket of enthusiasm and energy.
So I remember her telling us about doing the row when I was doing my programme. I was actually baffled. I'd never heard of anyone doing something like this before. I was like, nah man, it's just definitely not. I just thought like what an inspiring thing it is to do.
There's always a way to do things. Adapting and overcoming. I think she just embodies that in her life, and it's just Kelda, and everyone loves her for it.
I met a whole heap of people and I spoke to people that were actually stuck like I'd been stuck, and I realised that this wasn't just me. There was a lot of people that were kind of having the same battles as a result of a life-changing injury, illness or trauma. And that was where the whole idea for Climbing Out came from. So a lot of it with the training as well was having to adapt around my leg and my injury. I knew that doing hours and hours of rowing was going to have a bad impact on that ankle joint. So most of my training from a physical side of things was actually done in the gym. The time spent on the boat was more about learning the processes. So each day I was rowing for a different young person. They'd all written their own stories. And I guess the idea had come was that I knew the Atlantic was never about me. That wasn't why I was doing it. I wanted to reach people.
A national moment of silence was observed in mid-afternoon as heightened security revealed the continuing concern over public safety.
On May 22nd, 2017, I was at the Ariana Grande concert when the bomb went off. And I really struggled from then, really. I was struggling with anxiety, PTSD and depression. When I heard about Climbing Out, I went on the programme this year and it has completely changed my life. Before that, I would just stay in bed all day, but now every day, I do something every single day.
Well, this is it.
Bring on the adventure.
The rowers come from all walks of life. What they have in common is determination.
We're going to go out hard and see what happens.
Jesus, so much emotion.
The boats over there are doing their final little bits and pieces And here, I would like to introduce you to... Who have we got?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
You're tucked away inside the cabin.
Doing my satcoms.
Who are you? What's your team name? And where do you come from?
I'm Kelda, and the team is Rota Rays, and I'm from Shropshire.
You know, I got out in La Gomera, you suddenly realise what you're doing, and I sat there. If anything could have happened to have meant I didn't have to row over that start line, I would have grabbed it with both hands. I really would have done. And as I rowed out the harbour, my steering went wrong, something jammed, and I was like, I missed there was a kind of shipping lane that you had to go out of, and I missed that. It all felt so impossible. But I think, and that's what I think relates so much to the young people that I was rowing for. You know, when they go through what they go through, they have to deal with it.
When I was growing up, I went through a trauma. So my dad committed suicide, and then that sort of led to quite a turbulent years, like in my teenage years and growing up. And that's when I reached out to Climbing Out, and it just completely changed the way I thought about things. It gave me this sort of brand new lease of life that I didn't have.
It was day 12 that I had my first good day. It was day 12 when I had the first day where I felt I found some kind of routine. Those first 12 days, the whole thing felt so overwhelming. I did start to get into a routine, and then I tweaked that routine as the row went on, but I think that was the absolute key to me coping.
It's like another world out here tonight. It's so flat and calm, and it's kind of just surreal.
So there were 3 real aims and objectives of the row. The first was to inspire and motivate young people. The second was to raise awareness about climbing out, and the third was to raise funds for climbing out. Climbing Out runs 5-day outdoor activity programmes aimed at rebuilding confidence and self-esteem and motivation in people who've been through a life-changing injury, illness or trauma.
It's an outdoor programme, so it's being outdoors all the time, and I think it just gets your mind going, but going in a good way, not in like thinking about negative things. It gets you thinking about positive things, and that you're looking at the beautiful nature and you're seeing more to life.
My young adult renal worker found out about Climbing Out, and it sounded like a really good idea. It was the first time I'd ever done anything like this, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so when I knew there was a winner, when I knew other people had finished, that was really tough, especially when I had so far still to go. Mentally, that was really, really tough. But it was the young people's stories that kept me going and kept me rowing every single day.
When I was 14, I was diagnosed with a type of cancer called rhabdomyosarcoma, which is quite a rare form of muscle cancer which normally affects children. I find it quite humbling to be around people who've been through a lot of different situations, just to see how they overcome it, just to see how people have progressed in their own life and faced the challenges that they've been through. I really liked that, and getting to meet different people.
It felt so surreal. I think it was just total relief at that point.
It's not about saying I can't, it's about saying how can I?
And we really use that. You know, you step off the boat, and then I can remember at 5 o'clock in the morning, I was sat eating a greasy burger and having a beer with my sister, like I'd never even been out on the ocean, you know, and all of a sudden you're back into normal life.
When I was on climbing out, one day I really didn't want to get up, but what I thought was, if Kelda can row the Atlantic, I can get out of bed. I can get my bum out of bed. It's simple as that.
I feel so proud of when I see the young people using the tools that we give them and grabbing hold of that opportunity and turning their lives around. Like, it puts a smile on my face. That's what it's all about.
I'm just loving life, really, and I've got the tools in me to use when, you know, because life is up and down. That's what life is. But I know now how to manage those, and yeah, just keep positive and always smile.